Hello, my name is Martyr, and this is Let's Play Crest, and thank you for watching. Crest is a god game, guys, along the lines of Goddess, or Rus, or Spore, whatever god game you've played before. However, this is far more of an abstract god game, guys. You don't really directly interact with your followers. Instead, you give them commandments like, eat, or procreate, or, whatever have you. And they might follow it, or they might just kind of do whatever the hell they want, even if it leads them to disaster. And yes, I'm kind of aware of the irony of that, given, followers ignoring a god and leading themselves in disaster. It works like that, essentially. You kind of say, hey, maybe you guys should focus on farming, and they're like, screw you, we're going to do some mining instead, and then they all die, or sometimes they do what you say. It's kind of random. Crest released on Steam Early Access April 2015, which means everything you see is subject to change and not a final representation of the game. So, relax and expect wonky things to happen, guys, like crashes or bugs or whatever have you. Early access games were hard to predict. Crest was developed and published by Eat, Create, Sleep. You can go ahead and get Crest on Steam for the low price of $4.99, guys. Now, this game is still very much kind of, in my opinion, in an experimental state, guys. Not all the features are in. There's a lot more balancing that needs to be done. But I feel like perhaps the basics ideas are laid in there, even though I feel like those basic ideas probably still need a little bit of tweaking. But we're going to go ahead and check out the game, guys. We're going to start off with the options, of course. But if you want, you can click on that big red button up there in the top left that says skip to the action. And we'll take you to the action there. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go to the options screen. And there is quite a few options, I have to say. There's quality control, which basically goes all the way from fastest to fantastic. It's really not that graphically demanding of a game. At least I haven't noticed anyways. We have some resolution control. The game does go up to 1080p resolution. It has some anti-aliasing going all the way up to MSAA times 8. VSync, full screen, got some sound sliders, zoom speed, QWERTY keyboard. I guess you can switch your keyboard style, even though mostly the games kind of play with your mouse. The game doesn't feature any kind of controller support, so I don't really know what the entire point of the keyboard is. Maybe there's hotkey commands, I'm not really sure. Drag speed, zoom speed, inverted play intro. I'm actually going to turn on the tutorial. There's a reason for that. I feel like it'll do probably a better job of describing what you're going to expect from this type of game than I would. So here we have it. I'm going to hit pause. So the game basically tasks you with the role of God. You can think of yourself as being a parent to your people. Your goal is to lead your followers and shape them after your own wish. Be careful, however, if you lead them astray, they will all die and your legacy will end. Now, the basic goal of the game is these are your followers down here. These are 4 little dudes. And basically what you have to do is, well, first and foremost, the entire land that you can see right here around you is kind of randomly generated for the most part. So what resources you start off with, how close you are to those resources, how the land is shaped and formed, kind of is always going to be a little bit different. But it also changes as you kind of progress through the game as well. Now the tutorial basically is kind of turned off, so I guess I'll just have to explain it myself now. Alright. So this is your commandment screen right here. This little bottom red thing down here. And this is where you can give your followers instructions. Now the instructions will always be interpreted. So they're not, like I said, they're not exactly direct words. You're not saying go do this. They're going to say, okay, well he's talking about, if I click, happy people go get food, they're going to kind of get an idea of what I'm trying to say, but they're going to still kind of try to interpret it, change the words up or whatever my intentions were, and do whatever it is they want. They could see, oh, okay, well, he wants us to eat happy people, which cannibalism can happen in this game. It has happened to me. It's kind of hilarious. They just go over their neighbors and suddenly one of their neighbors is just dead suddenly. But you can change all sorts of different kinds of commandments, basically. As you can see here, some of them are for forests in the world, deserts in the world, food, the sustenance that is collected by the followers, metals in the world, a period when followers are born, young followers, old followers, hungry followers, overfed followers, happy followers, sad followers, and then the yaks, the antelopes, or whatever the hell these things are, these animals. I guess you can kind of say, hey, well, I'd love to say, could you go mate with the antelopes? Nope, I guess I could say that. Oh God. I'm gonna just put that proclamation in just to see what happens. I'm a sick bastard. So on the right here, are more or less kind of like the actions. You can see there's diamond, and then like there's like a weird little different kind of diamond here, because these are the ones that you're going to want to put your actions in. So this one's like urges your followers to perform a certain subject, urges your followers to not perform a certain subject, to prioritize a certain subject, to not prioritize, to go to a particular subject, or to stay away from a particular subject. And from that basic building block, you need to start commanding your people. So let's turn on the time here. I just commanded them to rape the axe, which you can basically see here by clicking on this little blue thing on the bottom left, and it'll show you all the commandments that you have basically put into order. Now, another important thing to note is that each commandment does have a duration. It doesn't last forever, so you constantly need to be kind of, well, essentially telling your people more or less what to do over and over again as time progresses through the game. So I'm going to say all unhappy people should go get food. At least that's what I'm hoping they're going to interpret from that. And I'll put that into effect, and you can see everybody who's kind of unhappy will start hopefully trying to farm up some stuff here. And they're going to start, of course, farming the land. As far as camera control goes, by the way, you can swivel the camera in, you can zoom it around, and you do have some nice camera control. You kind of move the camera around with your WASD. And it does a really nice job of letting you kind of move the camera around. Right there, by the way, they're doing a... I know that looks kind of weird because it looks like they're humping each other. What they're doing is a ritual of mating, basically. They're right now deciding, well, they want to make new children. Which I guess has something to do with the commandment that I gave. I guess they're not going to sleep with the axe. They're going to sleep with each other and produce children. So as you can see right here, for instance, these huts all have little statistical information on them. So this house, for instance, as far as accumulated amount of food, the blue basically represents how much of that particular item they have at that particular hut. So this hut has a little bit more food than this hut. This hut has less metal. This hut has less chance of producing children. This hut is essentially starving and is an adult. If you if you hover over the face on it, it's going to show you what that person is unhappy about. So he wants food, metal, offspring, food in abundance, metal in abundance, and he also wants to move out. So basically the only way to do that is for him to kind of more or less kind of figure shit out for himself. This is where, like I said, it kind of becomes an issue where you're more or less watching them do whatever it is they want to do. Yes, I have my commandments in place right now, which is what you think would be, hey, unhappy people, go gather food. Right now, what they're all doing? They're in your huts. They're ignoring my commandments. They're just kind of jerking off. Well, they're probably also trying to mate with yaks. I shouldn't have done that, but I was just kind of morbidly curious what would happen. And that is the fun of this game, guys. It is essentially what kind of combination of commandments can you do to see what happens. So let's see if we can make them eat each other. Let's see. Unhappy people. Eat. Let's see. Let's interpret this. Unhappy people eat unhappy people. Maybe that'll do something. Let's see what happens with that experiment there. I'm not really sure what that's going to do. It so far seems to have done nothing. Oh, they're dead. Alrighty then. So it looks like they're going to go hunting. We kind of did get to see you can see basically he's going to go perform an action. He's going to go gather food, which is what I commanded them to do from this one particular action because they're unhappy. Now another thing to note is that there is a speed up button here. I can basically hit on these little 3 arrow keys and it'll actually drastically speed up time. Now, for some reason or another, this is one thing that I will say this kind of pissed me off, is the AI is kind of dumb as shit. I apologize, there's just no other way of putting it. The AI is dumb as balls. Instead of going over here and hunting the yaks by their houses, he went all the way over here. And because he doesn't have much, in the way of food already established in his house, he starved to death and died. As you can see right there, it says, follower died of starvation. So more than likely, this moron here is probably going to die. I don't know. Oh, he's about to eat the other guy. Eat him. Eat him. Or no, apparently he's switched tasks. And now he's the last follower. So this guy's dead. This entire civilization has failed. And the reason for that is that they didn't procreate. I probably screwed around with the wrong commands. I should have focused mostly on food, production, and procreation. That's kind of the 3 commands you're going to kind of focus through. procreation, food consumption, and that's kind of it. You saw, by the way, the rain come basically through here. It kind of does change the environment up a little bit. Like the seas will start to expand and it'll become more and more lush and more green as rain falls down. And the environment does kind of shift and change a little bit, which is really neat. But it doesn't really matter because this guy's going to die. There you go. Your legacy ends here. I'm game over. Now, this game basically has a focus on fast-paced games. It has a focus on fast-paced games. You're going to be playing a game anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And that's kind of done on purpose. That's kind of the way they want you to play the game because they don't want it to be necessarily a long game. They want you to just... Because all these areas, as you can see right here, are randomly procedurally generated. So basically, one area might be a little bit more hospitable to a particular civilization. Hold on, let me get some commands out really quick. Let's go. Unhappy people, gather food. Happy people, have sex. And go. And now they're going to start doing their thing. Again, they have some commandments, but they're going to start doing other things like gathering metals. That's what these are. These are mines, by the way. They can create mines and farms for themselves. And they just do that on their own. They don't really need instructions. They kind of just do whatever the hell they want. Again, I told them to gather food, and they're all going to die, probably. Wonderful. Oh, well, that's okay. What basically ends up happening, for at least what I've noticed, guys, is the game kind of ends up becoming a bit of a little bit of a vivarium, basically. You just kind of end up watching their interactions and basically watching them do whatever it is they're going to do. Yes, you do have some limited form of control, and you can give them commands. I can say, okay, happy people now focus on the land, and they'll start doing that, and that'll be great for them. And the idea is to experiment with all these different kinds of commands. As you can see, my people are starting to flourish, by the way. Make sure my other commands are still up there. They're still good. It becomes a little bit of a vivarium. It becomes a game where you're just kind of watching it. And I mean, the thing is that unless you really enjoy the animation, which the animations are well done, I will say that I do enjoy the graphics. I enjoy the way the island shapes and how it changes kind of due to time and effects and weather and all that good kind of stuff. I'm not going to watch this game on its normal speed. I'm going to watch this game on its maximum speed, which basically turns the game speed, the game length, down significantly. The only reason it would ever be to slow down the game time is because you need to give a specific command at a specific time. But otherwise, you're going to just watch this game basically at its normal speed. Right now, a lot of people are unhappy. They don't have a lot of food. Hopefully they're smart enough to get off their asses and go get... Nope, they're dead. They're dead. Like I said, there's a lot of balancing. I feel it still needs to be done in this game. Because sometimes these followers are just dumb. Like, they know they're running out of food, so why wouldn't they go gather food? They know there's only 2 of them left, so they know they should probably hump each other. It's just, it seems like the AI is a little bit, it does take care of itself, and it says it will do that sometimes. It seems sometimes they're really stupid. And that can get very, very frustrating. It took me many tries trying to figure out what was the best commands to give. And right now, like I said, I've only given about 2 commands. I haven't really experimented with the other commands, because every time I do experiment with the other commands, they all die a horrible, horrible death. Either due to, population control or lack of food. They just all die horrible, horrible deaths. So I kind of need to focus on food and life production. Those are the 2 commandments I kind of put out. Which, speaking of which, I need to put out again. And like I said, it just kind of ends up being a little bit like a vivarium. You're just watching them do these things over and over again, and you're not really, like the game says, you're not really interacting with them. You're just kind of letting them do whatever they want, which is fine. I mean, it does work in that regard, but it just, as a game, it seems like a little bit of a weird thing to do. It would seem like there should be a little bit more objectives, more things to kind of affect the gameplay, more ways to kind of at least affect the outcome of things. Like, for instance, it says on the Steam page, it says, write rules for your subjects which will have interesting consequences. For the most part, I mean, other than occasionally them eating each other, which was hilarious to watch, I haven't really experienced that yet. It says many different ways to express your divinity, which will be reflected in your followers. I haven't experienced that either. And yes, I'm aware the game is still in early access. I mean, I'm sure the game probably still has a long way to go. But if this is the basic idea, if this is what they're kind of aiming for in general, by the way, they have now produced so many people that are moving away to form a new colony. If this is the basic idea, there needs to be a little bit more to it than just this right now, because there isn't enough, in my opinion. There's just, you're kind of just watching, sitting here, and essentially just watching them do whatever it is they want, which reminds me very much of Eat, Create, Sleep's last game, which was what was it called? I forget what it was called, but it was another kind of like Vivarium style game where you changed the ecosystem and things would end up happening. Yes, keep mating, keep humping, keep producing children. Move. See, these guys are now moving over here. They're forming their own little colony, which I think is really neat. I like this concept right here. Of course, I've never had a second colony really go all that far. How are my things doing? They're doing pretty good. So far, this is probably actually a pretty decent game. As you can see, we're just getting the land starting to change more. These rivers are starting to grow. The land is turning a little bit more green. And this society is doing a fairly good job of you know, surviving on its own. Now, mind you, some of them are probably still going to be doing stupid crap, like probably not feeding themselves occasionally and dying. But again, you can't really too terribly control that all that much. And I haven't really experimented with the other commands, so let's just try experimenting with the commands. Let's try. All right, let's try. Okay, unhappy people tend to the land. There we go. What does this difference have? What does the forests in the world have anything to do with food? I have no idea. I don't know what exactly that affects. I mean, for the most part, you can kind of gather an idea of what specific commands are going to do what, but there's some of them that are just kind of abstract, like for instance, deserts of the world, forests in the world. I'm not really sure what these particular commands do. And it's not really kind of all explained, and society is blossoming kind of beautifully. That's freaking awesome. That makes me happy. Do we need to put any commandments that we've had earlier? Yes, we do. We need to put out the happy people will procreate, and then angry people will gather food. Because that's how you survive. You gather food, you morons. So, like, for instance, they also need to, like, gather metals, by the way. You see there's, like, a metal counter here. I've never really had to command them to gather metals. Not once in this game. Because they kind of, for the most part, do it themselves. They kind of just figured out, they're like, okay, well, we need to gather metals for us to create tools and do whatever it is we need to do. And they just kind of do it for themselves. Lots of water. That guy just dropped dead. They're dropping dead. Oh, my God. But there's currently 2, you know, flourishing villages here, which is actually pretty freaking awesome. Again, because that's the AI kind of being intelligent and heading towards local resources instead of walking across the entire freaking map. I'm not gonna hold that against the game, though. It's it's an early access game. Eventually, I'm sure that will be fixed and, you know, touched up on. Eventually, hopefully. And this is it. This is kind of what so far a successful game kind of looks like. I don't know what my other command did, by the way. Like, for instance, the forest command. I'm not really sure what that did. Let's put another one in. We're going to say, take care of the sand, the desert. What is that going to do? I have no idea. They're certainly just doing stuff. I'm not really sure what's going on. I think this is going well for them. I think society is blossoming beautifully. How many towns do we have so far right now? It looks like another town is starting to form over here now. We need to give any more commands that are basic. Yeah, we need to... Happy people hump each other. And then angry people gather food. I don't know what happens if you like get like hundreds of commands at once. I think the AI might get a little confused. And it'll just kind of go back to whatever its basic needs are, it thinks that it needs to do. And then it'll essentially kind of ignore you. Well, like I said, though, it's really cool because you can see this entire area is kind of expanded now. It's kind of grown out. This river is getting huge. As it keeps raining down this particular path, it's just spreading out this river massively. Which I will say is a good thing because it's kind of helping my people flourish. They are farming the crap out of these lands, and it is going very well for them. As well as these people over here. They're doing pretty good on their own over there. I have to admit. Someone just died, though. And it's a fun game. It's an interesting game. We'll say that much. It's very much, like I said, it doesn't really necessarily remind me too much of a God game, more of like a vivarium game. You add elements, you add commands, and then you watch what happens. More than you actually kind of do anything. It's more of a game you're just kind of sitting there and seeing what happens. Eventually speaking, they're all going to die. There is no winning this game. It's just a matter of how long can you keep these people going? How long can they follow your command successfully before they either wipe each other out, or run out of supplies, or the land is overcome with water at this rate? They're going to die no matter what you do. And then you'll start over again and kind of start from square one again and basically give the same, so far from what I've seen, same basic commands, which is, happy people hump, do that. Unhappy people gather food, do that. And let's just try to make something interesting. Let's say, is there any yaks in the land? Or antelopes? No, there's no antelopes around here, is there? No, not really. There's not a single damn antelope, so I can't do anything with the antelopes. Okay, we'll say, young people eat the old people. Whatever that does. We'll see what that does. Maybe they're going to start eating each other. I don't know. Died of starvation. Not really sure what these commands are doing. Died of starvation. Man, these people just need to learn to gather food, man. And that is one thing that will be changing in the game. The game doesn't currently have any Steam achievements or anything like that right now. No Steam achievements, no Steam cards, but that might change in the future. There'll be more features coming to this game, like they're going to be able to gather food and distribute food, just gather materials and distribute them, amongst the people. There'll be a little bit more of a smarter AI, and I think that's one thing that, like I said, is going to happen. The game does need a little bit of rebalancing, and things will be changed up a little bit and make the game a little bit more smarter about the way it handles things. And I think that will be good. But at the same time, there's just a little couple of weird, the concept itself, it needs a little bit more work. I don't really, ultimately, I'm just watching them do things. I don't feel like I'm kind of really part of that in any way. I'm just essentially just watching them do things, which is cool in some regards, in some ways. But sometimes the point when you're kind of on, especially when you're on, ×3 at this point, it's just, you're just watching them and nothing's really changing. Man, look at that river's kind of forming. That's kind of cool. I like that a lot. Man, it really likes raining in this direction. It's carving a path right through my town of rain. That could end badly. I don't know how that's going to end up for my people here. But yeah, they're dead. They're just dying. They're dying so fast. This land is rapidly changing, I will say that much. Good God. They're probably going to get flooded out of their own island at this rate. Let's just zoom out. Yeah, they're probably going to get flooded out of their own island at this rate. Okay, unhappy people gather food. Happy people hump. Do it. Make it happen. Your Lord and God Martyr commands it. Martyrites! What? Why are you all spinning in circles? What is wrong with you? Hello? Oh dear God. What is going on? Am I crazy here, or is the game bugging out? I do believe the game is bugged out officially. Yep, sure has. So that's gonna, I think that's gonna wrap up how I feel about Crest, guys. It's a cool game. It has a neat idea. It's an interesting concept. Saving and loading, by the way, will be coming to the game a little bit later on. If you do want to have a save and quit feature, that will be coming to the game a little bit later on. But I mean, just as a basic concept, yes, it's neat. It feels like it needs a little bit more to make it a little bit more interactive, make it a little bit more fun for the player himself, and maybe just define a little bit more what those commandments do, because otherwise, just you're focusing on eating and procreating, and that's kind of all you end up doing. You don't really understand. I don't understand the point of the other commandments, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And there's a lot of things like, it says immersive feedback will show you the progress of your people and create a rich history. I haven't seen that. I haven't gotten that. I've gotten that, okay, I've commanded them to eat and have sex. That's what I got so far from my people's history. And I would like a little bit more of what is said on the Steam page, guys. But I mean, like I said, it's an early access game, so there's still probably a ways more to go. I like the basic concept. I like the graphics. I like the way the game sounds. It's mostly bug-free, except for that weird bug that happened there on the end, which is hilarious because that didn't happen to me at all until I started filming. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up my video. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I want to say big thanks to the developer for a chance to check out this title. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe and share, and I'll keep bringing you awesome indie games, guys. If you really enjoyed this video, maybe consider hitting up that tip jar. If you're feeling generous of heart, all tips go to improving the channel or future giveaways. Till next time, guys, play more indie games.